At the heart of creation lies a simple but profound truth. The process of bringing something into existence unfolds in repeating patterns. These patterns are not linear but fractal, replicating themselves across every scale of action and perception. Whether we are crafting an idea, shaping a relationship, or building a world, the same structural dynamics emerge, patterns within patterns, infinitely nested. This is the foundation of fractal manifestation, a way of understanding and harnessing these repeating structures to bring clarity, precision, and intentionality to the process of creation. What defines a fractal is not just repetition but recursion. Smaller iterations of the same structure exist within the whole, each part echoing the same principles that shape the larger system. Fractal manifestation captures this idea and applies it to the process of turning potential into reality. At the highest level, it begins with a simple triad, a three-part structure that drives creation. But within each element of this triad lies another triad, and within those, further triads, creating a self-similar structure that extends as far as necessary to analyze, refine, and influence any creative process. This fractal approach gives us a method for navigating complexity. By breaking down large systems into their smallest, self-similar components, we gain a framework for understanding the interplay of forces at work. Each triad operates according to three principles: action, which drives the process forward; reaction, which responds and adjusts; and bounding restraint, which provides the framework and limits that ensure coherence. These principles do not operate independently but in constant interaction, creating a dynamic balance that underpins the fractal structure. The power of fractal manifestation lies in its versatility. Because the same principles operate at every level, this framework applies universally. Whether you are untangling a personal challenge, designing a project, or striving to align your broader goals with your daily actions, the fractal structure allows you to zoom in or out as needed. It offers clarity where there is confusion, precision where there is ambiguity, and intentionality where there is passivity. Fractal manifestation is not merely a theory but a practice. It provides the tools to break down any process into manageable, actionable components while keeping the larger system in view. It allows us to understand not only what we are creating but how every part of that process connects and aligns with the whole. By recognizing and working within this fractal structure, we unlock the ability to manifest with greater focus, purpose, and impact. This introduction is your first step into that process. We'll explore the fractal nature of creation, revealing how to deconstruct it layer by layer until you can see the whole pattern reflected in its smallest parts. From there, you'll gain the tools to intervene, adjust, and amplify the manifestation process at every scale. This is not just a way of understanding the world, it's a way of shaping it. Welcome to Fractal Manifestation. Picture an ancient theater stage where three characters enter for an eternal performance. These characters are thought, word, and deed, and they're inseparable yet distinct. Thought conjures the script that shapes what might be expressed. Word captures that script's essence and projects it for all to hear, and deed gives the final performance in flesh and blood. This triad is at the heart of our fractal manifestation model, a looping tapestry where each element triggers changes in the others. It's important to grasp not just that they depend on one another, but that each character embodies a miniature version of the entire play within itself. Think of them as three mirrors standing in a circle, each reflecting the others in a never-ending loop of images. That's the power and the paradox of fractals. They show us how something that seems small and localized contains all the complexity of the whole. In practical terms, thought sparks everything, yet by existing in your mind alone, it remains intangible. Word steps in to translate that spark into a communicable medium, giving shape to the intangible so it can be shared. Deed brings your idea from the realm of concepts and speech into the physical world, where nails are hammered, seeds are planted, or buttons are clicked. But the drama doesn't end there. Once you act, your actions create new experiences, which feed back into your future thoughts, sharpen your subsequent words, and refine your upcoming deeds. This cyclical pattern ensures that no single act stands alone, but rather, everything you do resonates across all three dimensions of your being. That's the essence of our overarching triad, an interplay of inner cognition, outward expression, and decisive motion. And while this triad stands as the marquee attraction, it harbors deeper constellations of smaller triads within each of its 3 shining stars. To illustrate how fractal structures hide within larger frameworks, we start by turning a spotlight on thought itself. Though it sounds like a monolith, I had a thought, it actually unfolds in 3 distinct movements. Conceptualization is the catalytic moment when an idea materializes in your mind. This phase is the action, akin to planting a seed of possibility. It can be wildly creative or surprisingly mundane, but it's always the spark that sets mental processes in motion. Reflection arrives next as the reaction. The mind becomes a mirror, examining that fledgling idea for flaws, contradictions, or potential improvements. Imagine an artist stepping back from a painting to see if the colors blend well or if the proportions are correct. The painter's pause becomes just as crucial as the brush strokes themselves. Reflection ensures that conceptualization doesn't gallop forward unrestrained, forcing the idea to refine itself by confronting reality, logic, or memory. Intuition stands as the bounding restraint in this subtriad, a sometimes mysterious but always guiding presence that provides the final gut check. It's that subtle inner voice or deep-seated sense that nudges your reflection along certain paths or sets boundaries around your conceptualization. Sometimes it says go for it, and sometimes it warns, better think that through again. In that way, it both constrains and liberates your mental process, ensuring your thoughts cohere to some personal sense of truth or practicality. Because each of these 3 elements, conceptualization, reflection, and intuition, interacts in a loop, you can see how even a single mental notion can contain a universe of smaller, fractal-like processes. Moving outward from the realm of silent cognition, word takes the baton and announces your inner reality to the world. But here, too, a triadic cycle stirs behind the scenes. Articulation is the action that makes your inner script audible or visible. It's the moment you shape words with breath, pen, or keyboard. Like a trumpet call echoing across a valley, articulation sets events in motion by transmitting your inner voice into shared space. Once out in the open, your words provoke a reaction, interpretation. Another person, or even your future self revisiting an old journal, must decode what you said. This process includes not just intellectual understanding, like grasping the dictionary definition, but emotional resonance and personal resonance as well. Interpretation can transform your raw pronouncement into something thrilling, confusing, or motivating. If articulation is the initial shot fired, interpretation is the echo that returns, informing you how your words have landed. All of this occurs within a bounding restraint we call context. Context is the invisible setting that dictates how words are heard, shaped, and judged. Speaking about a delicate matter in a formal boardroom is not the same as discussing it with friends at a coffee shop. Context also includes cultural norms, historical baggage, or even the mood of the moment. It's the environment that corrals your words and prevents them from existing in a vacuum. In so doing, it can drastically change how any act of articulation is received. Through the interplay of articulation, interpretation, and context, word reveals itself as more than a simple stepping stone between mind and matter. Rather, it's a fractal phenomenon in its own right, carrying the potential for infinite echoes and expansions. Finally, we come to the most visibly tangible realm, deed. This is where ideas and statements crystallize into real-world outcomes. But a closer inspection reveals yet another triadic structure. Initiation is the action that launches a sequence of events. It can be as small as striking a match or as large as signing a historic treaty. Either way, it's the conscious moment of deciding, yes, I will do this now, and taking that first step forward. Once the deed is underway, impact becomes the reaction. The world responds to what you've done, often in ways you couldn't have predicted. Light a match, and suddenly there's heat, flame, and the potential for countless further consequences. Warming a chilly campsite, igniting a stove for cooking, or, if handled poorly, sparking a disastrous fire. Impact is how the environment, the community, and even your own future experiences reflect back on your chosen course of action. This stage often feeds new experiences straight into the loop, shaping your next round of thoughts and words. Presiding over both initiation and impact is the ethical framework, which acts as a bounding restraint. This framework can be a moral philosophy, a set of professional guidelines, religious teachings, or even purely pragmatic considerations like, I don't want to get sued. It restricts the scope of your actions, guiding them along certain lanes while dissuading them from others. Far from stifling your creativity or limiting your possibilities, it ensures that you remain aligned with deeper values or practical standards. It's not a static presence either. Each new deed can modify and refine your ethical framework, just as your ethical framework shapes your next deed, looping back in fractal elegance. At every scale, fractal manifestation demonstrates that creation is an interplay of recurring, self-similar patterns. From the triadic rhythm of thought, word, and deed to their nested subtriads, the process unfolds through action, reaction, and bounding restraint, interwoven forces that guide potential into reality. These principles provide not only a framework for understanding complexity, but also a pathway for navigating it with clarity and intentionality. This fractal approach empowers us to see connections where others see chaos, offering precision in place of ambiguity and harmony where there was disarray. It teaches us that no act stands alone. Every thought, every word, and every deed resonates outward, rippling across scales of creation. This is the fractal truth, that the smallest decisions echo infinitely, shaping both the immediate and the infinite with the same fundamental structure. Creation, then, is not a linear march but a recursive dance, where every action shapes the whole and every whole is shaped by its actions. By embracing this perspective, we align with the natural order of manifestation itself, unlocking the potential to create with intention, resonance, and enduring impact. The patterns are already there, waiting to be revealed. Through fractal manifestation, we are invited to engage fully, thinking, speaking, and acting with a deeper awareness of how our creations reflect and reshape the world around us.